Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everybody. Welcome to CW Group's World Cement Bag and Bagging Equipment Industry Forecast webinar. I would like to thank all of you who have joined us today, and we hope to give you some good insight on this particular topic over the course of this webinar. So, to briefly go through the introduction as to who is going to be going through these slides. My name is Prashant Singh. I'm the Associate Director at CW Group, and I am based out of the Mumbai office. I am responsible for handling inquiries that are from this region. And my colleague Carolina, who's based out of our Porto office, will be sharing the duties on this webinar, and she's responsible for the quantitative and qualitative analysis for all research, CW research projects, including this one. And she will be also guiding us through some of the key slides through this webinar. So just to give you a brief understanding of the agenda of the day, I would like to spend a few minutes to introduce CW Group to those who are not aware of us. And then we will jump right into the World Bag and Bagging Equipment Industry Forecast and cover the points that you see on your screen today, including report overview and methodology, a market overview, and then jumping right into the sectors, including cement bagging, bags, and then final conclusions as to our thoughts about where this market is headed and what it means for all the major players involved. CW Group, for those who are hearing about us for the first time, we are divided into three different verticals. We have the advisory vertical, we have the research vertical, and the media vertical. Obviously, when we look at the advisory section, we have management consulting services, strategic advisory services, and of course, mergers and acquisitions advice. But as any good consulting company will tell you, this is based on a foundation of solid research, and this is where we excel. We have our predominant industry focus is usually cement, and we have many cement-related syndicated reports, including this cement volume forecast report and the global trade prices report. For this particular report, the volume forecast report was a key foundation element, and I will speak to that in some of the later slides. In our research section, we also have price assessments where we look at petcoke and look at specific regions where we look at cement, clinker, and white cement trading, which you can sort of also find more information on our website. On our media section, we have newsletters, we have data feeds where you can find the latest information for cement, for IPP, for paper and pulp industries. Basically a one-shot all where you can subscribe and get the relevant feeds in your email to click. And so you can immediately get an update on what's going on in the world. All right. So let's jump in. We will now sort of look at the World Cement Bagging Industry Report and what is in it and why you should sort of be interested in sort of buying this report. Well, this report includes a very detailed outlook on the World Cement Bag and Bagging Equipment Forecast. And when we're looking at cement bags, we look at all the different kinds of bags, and we're looking at the cement equipment. We're looking at bagging equipment, palletizers, loaders, and wrappers. The forecast is done on a global, then regional basis. So with detailed shout outs to particular countries and regions of interest or who are market movers. The foundation basis of this entire report is the volume forecast report, which is a biannual report that CW does. And the extended version of this 2019 will be coming out sometime in October. This is the foundation because we use the analysis done and research done in that report to look at cement capacity forecasts and how that will obviously impact cement bagging requirements. Within that report, we also do a detailed analysis of greenfield and brownfield sort of plants and capacity expansions, which also become a very foundational element of the cement bag and bagging equipment industry report. And on this website, you can go to the link mentioned there, and you can get a complete sort of description of this report. And if you are interested, you can procure it by clicking on the link mentioned on the website. So I would like to take a few moments just to appraise you of sort of the methodology that is used to come up with this report. And as I mentioned, the CW Cement Production Capacity Database, which is the volume forecast report, is the foundational element. We have then we had multiple primary interviews with major players across regions to verify and then cross-verify our assumptions. This is then again statistically analyzed through different tools to make sure that the data is coherent and sort of represents an accurate degree of confidence, so that for all the different subsections. And then again, we then consolidate this data based on market size and segment for understanding. This similar approach is also obviously done for cement bags, a little bit of a different market, but very important. However, this market is not driven or by the cement bagging equipment forecast. Predominantly, it's driven by actually produced cement. So this is also, again, it's intimately related to the volume forecast and understanding of production, actual production capacities and utilization rates of cement plants across the major countries. So let me just go to the next page. So let's now jump right into this report. And the first slide that you see before you is the cement demand and capacity slide. What is very obvious from the slide is that cement capacity has not been sort of growing at a very fast rate. Cement demand has not been growing at a very fast rate, not just in the last 5 years, but it's also not forecasted to do anything mesmerizing going forward either. In fact, the CAGR over the 2014 to 2019 is merely 0.3%. And the forecast for until 2024 is only marginally better at around 0.4%. Predominantly, this is due to a lot of capacity demand reduction in China. This cannot growth in Africa and Asia ex-China, predominantly India, has not been able to obviously compensate for the significant decrease in demand. And the reason why CW feels that the outlook is not much better is that the global economic scenario has not given us any reason to feel confident, at least in the short term, that we will see a marked improvement in the global economy. On the second half of the slide, you see the global baseline production capacity. Again, the capacity growth is extremely meager, and that is again driven predominantly as a result of the capacity rationalization in China, which has already seen a few 100 million tons of capacity being shut down. There is very few, or very little, should I say, a new capacity in China that is coming up that is modern, maybe a very small fraction of the capacity that has been shut down, and is still expected to actually shut down over the next few years. This is basically having a lot of impact on the global outlook. However, there are still bright stars. India looks to be a market where we will see sustained consumption growth as well as capacity growth, given some very ambitious targets for the infrastructure sector, and of course, thereby the related demand for cement consumption going forward. I would now like to hand you over to my colleague Carolina, who will now take you through the slides specific to this report. And of course, we will be available, or I will be available at the end for any questions that you may have. So, Carolina, please take it away.
Thank you, Prashant. We will now move on to the discussion on the cement bagging equipment market. If you give a second, okay. Now, to get a better understanding of this market, we'd like to start with localizing it in a cement plant. The dispatch line belongs to the final stage of a cement plant, a full dispatch line, as a bag filler, a pelletizer, and a wrapper, which are the more expensive equipments, primarily when compared with conventional loading systems. Of course, that this line is not complete without the bag market, and on which we will also be focused later on this presentation. When looking at the global market for cement bagging equipment, we witness a slight decrease instead, we witness a slight increase. We also see that it will be staying at a not so good, but a good level nonetheless in terms of US dollars. I'm sorry, this was a bit of a technical difficulties here. There is a wide regional variations in demand for cement bagging equipment. We can see that, for example, in North America and Europe, it's you can usually see full lines, full dispatch lines, when, for example, in Asia, China, it will be probably consist of just a bag filler bagging system per se. Asia and Africa are driving the demand for this sector, of course, when looking at bag size, they can be defined both by the market needs as well as a response to regulations, as we witnessed in the case of Brazil, that last year signed a regulation where the bag size needed to be reduced from 50 kilograms to 25 kilograms. Now, jumping to a discussion on what is shaping the cement bagging equipment market. Among factors that are negatively impacting the overall trend in this industry segments, we have a push in large-scale infrastructure projects globally, for example, new infrastructures in Asia and Africa, and the rebuilding of old infrastructures, for example, in North America. This is creating a need for bulk dispatch. However, again, markets like India are complex, driven by both large-scale infrastructure, but also significant housing construction, with housing for all programs by 2022. Small houses are requiring bagged cement, often in rural areas. Overcapacity has been plaguing most markets due to ambitious additions to cement based on sustained demand growth, not being prepared for the still lingering impacts of 2008 financial crisis. Even with demand growth in markets, capacity utilization will remain a concern. Most of the equipments have a very long life, and if maintained well, don't often need to be replaced. Of course, there's various sorts of maintenance that can be used to amplify these facts. There are already designed. The equipment is already designed for use in harsh environments such as cement plants. Therefore, they do not require constant updating. On the other hand, drivers for cement bagging include a general increase in labor as well as safety costs at cement plants, resulting in a requirement for more automation and less human involvement. With producers in key markets sustained by continued and forecasted demand due to strong project pipelines, allows these producers to look at new equipment to improve production efficiency. Last but not least, safety regulations imposed by authorities can be a driver for more automation and new equipment. And updating the already and existing equipment. Now, transitioning to an overview of the market shares by segment, which its mean is out of the cost of a cement plant, how much the total, like global, how much is driven by bag fillers, what's the split between bag fillers, pelletizers, wrappers, and also loaders. We can see on the first pie chart the 2019 expected data and below the 2014 forecasted data. The bag filler sector represents by far the biggest share of the market, is expected to experience a slight recovery compared to the last 5 years, but is still not enough to achieve a positive CAGR between 2019 and 2024 and staying at around -1%. The shift to pelletizing in developing economies, especially in new large-scale greenfield projects, is expected to sustain a CAGR of almost 1% in the next 5 years. Being this the main key point that we should take from this page. Of course, that we cannot forget that autoloaders are also coming into the picture in countries like India, where leading cement companies are focused on improving turnaround times, especially in greenfield investments. Now, when trying to give a regional overview of the cement bagging equipment, we clearly see different trends for developed markets and developing markets. For example, when looking at North America, we see very few capacity additions. Most of the dispatch lines already are equipped with palletizers and wrappers. In Western Europe and as in North America, there are few capacity additions, and the existing factories are already equipped with the new and more expensive equipment. When looking at Eastern Europe and CIS, a sluggish demand has imposed a decrease in new capacity additions. Demand for new equipment is driven by replacements or the expansion of existing plants. When we're talking about China, and in order to reduce overcapacity, the rate of retirements is now higher than the new capacity additions. New facilities that replace outdated capacity provide the demand for bagging equipment. Now, looking at Asia ex-China, the region takes the lead in terms of new capacity additions. New facilities and rising labor costs create opportunities for cement bagging equipment. In the Middle East, new capacity growth fell sharply in the past 5 years and is now stabilizing. And expensive, even if unreliable labor, caps the use for wrappers and palletizers. In Africa, thanks to again inexpensive labor, palletizing and wrapping are not so common equipments found in the cement plants. New capacity additions are, however, still frequent, but growth has stabilized. When looking at Latin America, we see that palletizers are popular in Brazil and Argentina, but less so in Mexico. New capacity additions have slowed down in the past 5 years, and this being the key takeaways of regional divergence in terms of cement bagging equipment. Now, moving on to the cement bag market, we see that the cement bag market is more dependent on actual production than it is installed capacity. The choice for bag type is very different in a regional level. For example, given the craft paper prices, Huvan and PA bags are more popular in African markets. In India, for example, which is again a very big market, the availability of plastic for recycling and restrictions to tree cutting makes woven bags more attractive to cement manufacturers. Additionally, woven bags allow companies to have a high quality prints and logos with more shine, which means that this is a benefit when trying to attract buyers' attention in a very competitive market. Moving on now to final remarks. The global market size for cement bagging equipment is expected to decline by a CAGR of around 1% in the next 5 years. Bag fillers continue to have the biggest share of the market. The segment will diverge, however, for palletizers and wrappers. Cement bagging equipment market is both dependent on demand and capacity, since an increase in demand may not result in new bagging projects, and if there is overcapacity in the market, which is the case for most markets. Less dependent on existing capacity and more anchored to actual production and sale of cement, the cement bagging market is expected to grow, even if it competes for market space with bulk dispatch. Rising labor costs and new safety regulations and rules may increase the market for automation. The shift from 50 kilograms to 25 kilograms in certain markets, including Brazil, as I've mentioned, due to health and safety concerns, may also create the demand for new equipments or upgrades. I would like to thank you on behalf of CW Group for joining me and my colleague Prashant in this webinar. Please feel free to reach us if you have any questions. We'll be glad to answer them. Thank you very much. See you next time.